This is WFYI News Now. It's Friday, February 27th, and I'm Sarah Neal Estes. Here are today's Central Indiana and statewide stories. People rallied at the Statehouse yesterday against bills that criminalize sleeping outdoors and restrict needle exchange programs. Lawmakers passed both bills that are now awaiting the governor's signature. Ben Thorpe reports.
A group of people who have either been in recovery or experienced homelessness gathered outside the State House with the advocacy group Hoosier Action.
Nothing about us without us. Are y'all with me?
Yes! Nothing about us without us!
Misty Carlisle says legislation penalizing people for being on the street will only make things harder.
You cannot incarcerate someone into stability. You cannot shame someone into sobriety. You cannot criminalize someone into housing.
Advocates repeatedly asked for a seat at the table, arguing that legislation impacting them is often made by people who don't understand their experiences. I'm Ben Thorpe at the State House.
And this week, lawmakers gave final approval for a bill that slightly changes the state's alert system for missing and endangered children. That move came in the wake of the disappearance and death of Fisher's teen Haley Busby. The Senate changed a bill to now include missing children under the Silver Alert system, which is more commonly used for missing adults. Cell phones in classrooms have been a problem for years. Not only are they a distraction, but they also facilitate bullying. Caroline Beck reports state lawmakers passed legislation to address the issue.
The bill would instill a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones and other wireless communication devices in schools, including smartwatches. Schools will now be required to either bar students from bringing their personal devices to campus or create a plan to securely store them during the school day. Some exceptions are given to students with certain health needs. Representative Jake Teshka says this ban will help improve students' overall well-being.
If we're serious about literacy, academic rigor, and student well-being, then we have to address the largest source of distraction in modern-day schools.
Democrats mostly support the ban, but they worry that this will create an unfunded cost for schools. The ban will take effect next school year. I'm Caroline Beck at the State House.
Developers behind a proposed 130-acre data center on the southwest side of Marion County secured preliminary approval yesterday. Farrah Anderson reports.
Dozens of Decatur Township residents gathered outside the city-county building downtown to protest the proposed data center. Saby, the Seattle-based developer, has pitched itself as a smaller alternative to tech giants like Google and Meta, who have secured data center developments in Indiana. But Pat Andrews, the chair of the Land Use Committee for the Decatur Township Civic League, says there needs to be an ordinance governing data center rezoning.
This is the wild, wild west. They have no rules they have to follow.
Residents say they're worried about noise, energy costs, and the lack of jobs compared to other types of industry that could go into the plot of land. Now, the full commission will make a final decision. I'm Farrah Anderson in Indianapolis.
Indiana voters will still have the same number of early voting days after a bill that would have reduced days failed this week at the State House. The Senate skipped over the bill this week, missing a key deadline to secure final passage. An amendment would have reduced the number of early voting days from 28 to 16. The change was added late in session without a public hearing to a bill that originally dealt with how absentee ballots are processed. House Speaker Todd Houston signaled last week that if it had returned to the House, it would have faced an uphill battle for approval.
I'm very, very comfortable with our election laws as they are. I think, giving people the longer opportunity to vote strikes me as a good thing.
The legislative session is on track to adjourn today. And for our final story, yesterday, Governor Mike Braun signed legislation that aims to bring the Chicago Bears to Indiana, shortly after the Indiana Senate gave its final approval 45-4. Braun said on a social media post that Indiana is open for business and, quote, I'm thrilled to sign Senate Bill 27 to create the framework to build a new world-class stadium in Northwest Indiana. Now let's get this across the goal line, end quote. The bill creates the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority, tasked with securing property and funding for a new facility for the professional football team. The Bears are also in talks with Illinois, where officials have taken steps to keep the team in the state. That's all for WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Zach Bundy with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Kendall Antron produced our music, and if you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share and follow WFYI on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to get the latest updates from our newsroom anytime. Thank you for listening. We'll see you Monday.